Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Maharaj.
Divo, Dhanavad, Sumadevi. Hari Hari. Ananditi Didi. Didi, Priyadarshini. Hari Bo.
Hari Bol Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol Didi. Hari Bol Prabhu.
Hari Bo.
Hare Bol. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Dandavat Pranam Maharaj.
Sridhara, Hari Bo, Dhanavad, Prabhu.
Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam Maharaj.
Dhanavad.
Nandava.
He helped Srila Shanta Maharaj get the RO filter.
Huh?
Sachi Dulal Prabhu helped to Srila Shanta Maharaj with the filter.
Oh. Okay. Hare Krishna, Sachin. Sachin Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Bo.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
So let's turn to Vandana. Vandeham
Neham
Shri Guru Shri Yutam
Guru
Guru Vachanam Sacha.
Shri
Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Tam Sajivam Svaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam
Krishna Chaitanya Deva
Shri
Radha
Radha
Krishna Pada
Krishna
Sahagana Lanta Sri Sankanitam Cha
Srivitam Shah
Om
Jnana Timirandasya
Jana Jana
Jnana
Salakaya
Salakaya
Sasuru
Chorunilitam
Vidya
Mena
Tasmai
Tasmai
Sri
Sri
Gurave Namaha
Namaha
Puja
Puja
Sri
Sri
Guru
Guru Varga
Varabandita
Vandita
Mahabhavantikaya
Mahabhavanitaya
Sada
Sada
Purva
Purva
Parya
Parya
Parampara
Parampara
Prachalita Praya Prapurtate
Prabhupada
Bhakti
Bhakta Nirmala Nirvasya
Jarasya Tam
Nitram
Samrakam Sadaram
Vande Sri
Vande Sri Guru Devam
Sri Acharya
Santasi Acharya Varamjam
Korva Bhiska
Bhuvavishta
Supuraka
Suprakam
Guru Gainai
Guru Gani
Sisa
Vasishtha
Sambhushitam
Sambhushitam
Chintya Chintya
Chinta Chinta
Samasthaveta
Samastapurunam
Sri Rupa
Rupa Parapanam Govinda
Govindam
Vidyanam
Janam
Bharanam
Bharatam
Bhakti-amrita Sundaram Vande Vishwa Gurum Cha Divya Bhagavata Premyahi Bija
Devam
Devam Divyatanam Pradhanam Bharata Chelana Chitam Sandarananda Puram Sadyeka Varanam Vairagya Vidya Buddhim Shantadim Subhaktim Lasitam Saraswatanam Varam Vande Tam Subhadram Madhyeka Charanam Vinayatikuram Sridharam
Shri
Sri
Siddhanta
Siddhanta Saraswati Vidito
Vidito
Vida Guru Admaye Vato Banarve Pavita Raganayo Gaura Sankirtanaya
Maya Vadaya
Mayavadara Nityanadhara Ite Jivanam Krishna Prema Samudana Sukam Padate Pratyam Sambhade
Namo
Namo Gaurakitaraya Panotamurte Hari Padma Vrindaya Radha Bhavani Sevane
Vande
Bhakti
Bhakti
Bhakti Vinoda
Nodam
Sri Gaura Shakti Swarupakam
Sarupakam
Bhakti
Bhakti Satrajna Maharaja Radha Rasa Sudhanidhi
Gora
Ganga Vrajapeti Vaishnavaya Vande Vigraham Jagannatha Prabhu Mande
Premadi Pita Vaishnava
Vanshakala
Sarugovasya Kripa
Sripad
Sindhu Bhayevasya Tanam
Vaishnaveyo
Namo Namaha
Panchatatmakam Krishna Bhakta Upasarupakam
Bhaktavacharam
Namami
Mami
Bhaktya
Bhakti
Satika
Namo Maharaja
Namo
Krishna
Pradayate
Krishnaya
Naya
Krishna
Krishna Chaitanya
Chaitanya
Namne
Name
Gora
Gaurati
Namaha
Namaha
Jayatam
Jato Panto Panda Mama Mandamati Gati Matsarva Padam Radha Madana Mohana
Divya
Vrindavanaya
Shriman Rasa Vrindaya Krishna Atanatra Gurunga Yasa Joy Supanika
Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu
Prabhu
Nityananda
Nityananda
Sri
Sri
Advaita
Advaita
Gadadhari
Gadadara
Srivastadi Gaura
Sri
Bhakta Vrinda
Gaura
Hare
Hare
Krishna Hare
Krishna Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare Hare
Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama
Hare
Hare
Rama 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 Hare
Rama
Hare
Jai Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Guru Dev, Srila Acharya Dev, Srila Santa Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai
Jai Gita Govardhana Ki Jai.
Jai
Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai.
Jai
Glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the worldwide devotees. Jai Gaur Premanandi.
Hare
Hari Bol
Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai
Jai
Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya. Asatara Sata Sri Sripad Bhakti Rakshak Sri Dev-Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai
Sri Prapanna-jivanamrtam Ki Jai.
Jai
Today we're reading from chapter 9, I think it is. Chapter 9, verse 8. Text 8, chapter 9. This is the words of nectar from the Supreme Lord on the topic of surrender. Bhagavad Vachanamrita. Bhagavan Vachanamrita. The nectarian words of the Supreme Lord. Tat Sarvesvareshvara Vareshvarat Vajnanam Eva Karminam Bahudeva Yagyane Karanam. Aham hi sarva vijnanam bhaktacha prabhar evacha natu mam abhijananti tatvenatas chavanti te. Tathaiva, we were reading from the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, the elevationists worship many gods due to their ignorance of Sri Krishna's position as the supreme God of all gods. I alone, Krishna says, I alone am the enjoyer of all and Lord of all sacrifice. Aham hi sarva yajnanam. I am the enjoyer. Bhaktacha is my enjoyer of all sacrifices. Those who worship the demigods, then considering them to be independent of me, are known as superficial worshippers. Prati Gopashraka. They do not understand my factual position, and thus due to their fallacious worship, they deviate from the truth. When they worship as my expansions, the demigods, headed by the sun god, they may ultimately gain an auspicious result. So some people think because there are so many gods in Hinduism, Shiva, Brahma, Durga, Ram, and all these names they hear, they think that the Hindus worship many gods. They don't think of Hinduism as a monotheism, in other words. They think of it as a polytheism. But if they could understand, even many Indians don't understand this, what to speak of the outside world, those outside of India. Many don't understand inside India and outside of India that Bhagavad Gita does not teach polytheism. Bhagavad Gita clearly teaches that Krishna is the supreme Godhead. Godhead means from that from which all other gods are emanating. Krishna expands himself. If we read in the more detailed description of these things in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna's Kaviraja's composition of the life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he explains there how Krishna expands himself into so many different types of uh, uh, representations. They call vilas and prakasha expansions. Some have all potencies, and some have a limited number of potencies, but they're all emanations from Krishna. And there are different ways by which Krishna relates to his devotees and even the non-devotees. Anyhow, so Krishna, when he was a little boy, the residents of Vrindavan used to worship Indra for rain. Indra is the god of the weather, of the lightning, and things like that, natural phenomena. So they would offer worship to Indra, king of heaven. And they felt their duty was to do that. And if they did not do that worship, then Indra would not be pleased with them, and he would not allow rain to fall. And if rain did not fall, then the cows would not have grass to eat, and their fruits and vegetables would not grow. So it was necessary, they felt, if they wanted to be able to produce any livelihood from the ground, from the land, and from the cows, they had to worship Indra. Anyhow, Krishna, in a very revolutionary type of way, although he was like a 2-year-old kid, he told him, no, don't worship Indra. We should worship Govardhan Hill. And they all looked at him and said, what? And yes, I am Govardhan Hill. You worship Govardhan Hill, you will worship all the demigods. And they thought Krishna was something, was puggle, some problem with his brain. How is that possible? Anyhow, somehow he begged his father, and all the devotees all agreed that they would worship Govardhan instead of Indra. When Indra heard this, of course, he became furious, and not only instead of giving them nice, gentle raindrops, he created a big storm with lightning and torrential rains. And the residents of Vrindavan became very afraid. Oh, we were following Krishna, what Krishna was saying, and we ignored Indra, and now he's getting angry at us and punishing us. And so Krishna told him, don't worry, you can get under this hill. I'll hold it up like an umbrella, and all the residents of Vrindavan and the cows, can come under there, and I'll protect you. And like that. So this small boy picked up the big mountain, and all the residents and were awestruck, and they got under that hill, and there was Krishna holding the mountain on his left finger, little finger, not the big finger, the little finger. And they were all amazed. How is this possible? Huh? And Indra was furious. How is this? What is this little boy is challenging me and protect everybody at the same time? What kind of creature is he? Huh? I am the king of gods, and this Krishna, a little fellow. It's not possible. And he was like that, very confused and very furious. And finally he realized, like, no matter how much he tried to punish the people, they were all protected very nicely and very happily sitting under Govardhan Hill in this amazing feat, Krishna holding up the hill. And so he came down, he said, he realized, oh dear Lord, what am I doing? Now I realize that you are not an ordinary person. You are the supreme Lord of Lords, King, God of gods. And I was thinking I was so powerful. And all the people were thinking I was so powerful. But now I'm realizing, by your mercy, that I am your servant, and all are your servants. Anyhow, Krishna was very happy, and he put down the hill, and he was very happy with Indra, and he forgave him for his foolishness, because he had now realized that Krishna's true position was such. And we know that when Krishna got older, And he was in the Bhagavad Gita, and he was telling Arjuna the same thing. When Krishna said in the 18th chapter of the Gita, Sarva dharmam parityaja, give up all your duties to the demigods and this and the forefathers and this thing and that thing. Sarva dharmam parityaja. Tyaga means renounce. Dharma means all your duties to all these persons and things and whatever. It says Sarva dharmam parityaga, give it up, reject it all. What? I said, yes, I tell you, reject it all. Sarva dharmam parityaga. And then mam ekam sharanam vraja. Mam means me. Ekam, only me. Mam ekam.
I missed something. Can
Sharanam
you say it
vraja.
again?
Then I surrender to me alone. You don't have to worry about all those other things. And then he says to him, Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshashyami mahasasya. And I will take any, don't worry about neglecting your duties and the sin that you will incur from neglecting your duties. He said, I will mokshashyami. I will give you freedom from all the reactions of those sinful activities. Masucha, he says, don't worry. I am the Supreme Lord. I can do anything. So the same principle he was teaching from his childhood to his time in the Battle of Kurukshetra, his whole idea was that I am the Supreme. Aham sarvasya prabhavo, he says in the Bhagavad Gita. I am the source of everything. Everything is coming from me. And then you don't have to depend on the other things that are coming from me anyhow. If you're trying to appease those things, why not try to appease me instead? And you'll get all the benefits of appeasing those others, plus more. If you have a $10 problem, $20 problem, $50 problem, so you think, oh, I have to get $10, I have to get $20, I have to get $50. Huh? Krishna is saying, no, I'm the $100. You come to me. All your $10, $50, $20 problems will be solved. No? You can come in touch with 100, then all the other little problems will be taken care of. Something like that. Here's explaining, huh? Pratiko Pashaka, superficial worship. Those who don't know about Krishna, they only know the limited things. Their brains, their intelligence, their knowledge is not gone far enough. The same thing, even although people like in the Western world don't worship demigods, they also worship false gods, no? They have all these, what do you call, idols?
American Idols.
American idols, or this idols, or that idols, teenage idols, Taylor Swift, or whoever. And they are worshiping these people. Or they're going to their jobs and they're worshiping their big employers, IBM, Google, Apple, all these big CEOs, Bill Gates and what was that? Zuckerberg, Mark Zuckerberg. And they're thinking, oh, how successful they are. Let me work for them. Let me serve them. And they will give me good money. And I will be happy. Everybody has someone they think is better than themselves. And if they can serve them, then they will get some benefit to work for them. So it's the same thing. Whether you call them demigods or rich people or popular people, intelligent people, strong people, whatever. Trying to serve them, satisfy them so you can get some benefit. Krishna calls that superficial. You don't really understand how things are working. You don't understand how the whole thing is set up, how I set up the whole thing. And you know, I've given this example many times. In the scriptures it tells, if you want to water the tree, you don't have to water each branch, each leaf. You put water on the root and everything gets taken care of. So the creation is set up like that. It's set up like a big tree. And Krishna is the root, the main trunk. And there are many shoots that come off from him. And that's how the creation takes place. Krishna is showing us every day in this world how it all works. You start out with a bijam, a seed in the bijam. Krishna says in the Gita, Ham Pitra, Pita, I am the father, I am the bija. Ham Pita, Ham Bija. I am the father, I am the seed. And then from me, everything comes. A big oak tree can come from that little seed. Developing in that way, from one step to the next, one branch to the next branch to the next branch. One branch produces two branches, and two branches produces four branches, and like that. And if you see how an embryo, how the embryo develops, it's the same thing. In the womb, the embryo starts off as an egg, a fertilized egg in which the sperm has fertilized it. And what happens with that egg? It divides. It splits in two, the first thing. And then those two parts, they split in two each. So you get four parts. And then each of those four parts split in two, and they get 8, like that. And the embryo develops again and again and again by splitting, not by accumulating. It doesn't accumulate more cells. It generates them from itself. This is creation. So the seed doesn't have any oak tree or any kind of thing in it. So you can't see anything there. Just a seed. Doesn't look like much. And yet it can create a gigantic oak tree or whatever. It's miraculous. Krishna is showing us a miracle every time a seed grows into something else. Even a blade of grass comes from a seed. And the scientists can't figure out how that happens. They can't do it in a lab. They can't take a little seed and make it produce something so wonderful as a blade of grass even. They can only remain in awe of these things. But they think that by mixing chemicals, they can do it also. So far, for hundreds of years, they've not been able to do anything like that. But still, they go on trying. And Krishna calls this ignorance. The goat, he tries to get outside the wall by hitting it with his head. And he hits it, and then it doesn't come down, and he hits it again. Again and again and again, the whole day long, he'll do like that. He doesn't know any better. Letting it go around the wall. So it is. Krishna is instructing us. These are the words of the Supreme Lord in the Bhagavad Gita itself. Bhagavad Gita is the most unusual scripture in the world because there the words of God Himself are recorded. The other scriptures are from the prophets of God. They're not God's direct words. Mostly they're what the prophets said about God. But in the Gita, God's words themselves are recorded. And He is explaining this very clearly. Problem is, either people don't hear these things or they don't know about them, or even when they read it, they don't understand because their minds are so fixed on seeing things in one way, they can't appreciate what Krishna is saying. I recently read a quote by Einstein, Albert Einstein. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it's something like, when he's feeling depressed, he picks up the Bhagavad Gita and immediately his mind goes into the higher thing, or elevated, because the philosophy, the concepts, the ideas of the Bhagavad Gita are so high, so high. He could appreciate. Einstein had a good intelligence to appreciate those high things. And so when the whole world around him was so dull and fighting and this, that, and the other thing, engaged in so many lowly activities, stupid activities, he felt, foolish activities, then he would get some relief from reading a few words from the Bhagavad Gita, presenting the highest things, the higher concepts. Like that. That's the power of the words of the Supreme Lord. Text number 9. Tatra Durmati Tuskriti Murata Rupa Maya Prabhava Eva Karanam Namam Duskritina Mudha Prapadyante Naradamaha Mayaya Paritagyana Asurambhavamashritah. From the Bhagavad Gita. The cause of such stunted intelligence, evil propensities, and foolishness, the power of illusion, Maya. Being merged in Maya, foolish and fallen men, dedicated to evil deeds, resort to the demoniac mentality and do not surrender unto me. This is the unfortunate position of the living entity. The finite or infinitesimal living entity has this one problem. His smallness, his infinitesimality, makes him subject To so many mistakes, so many misconceptions. That's his finite nature. If he was more intelligent, more perfect, he wouldn't have these problems. But because he is imperfect, because he is uh, uh, subject to uh, illusory existence, illusory type of activities. Illusory means if he was properly situated, he would understand these things about Krishna and his relationship with Krishna. But because he can't see that far, because he can't understand things that deep, and he only sees the immediate surroundings, things in a very immediate way, then he forgets everything. He forgets everything about his connection with the Lord. And he engages in the things in his immediate environment as if they can satisfy him or her. So it's because we don't go far enough. Sridhara used to say, dive deep into reality. Don't accept what is superficially there as the all in all. The senses. What are the senses? Seeing, smelling, hearing, tasting, touching. These things are immediately there in our environment. They put us in immediate contact with the environment. But that's not the totality of experience is not found in the senses. Our senses tell us only that something is there. We smell something or we see something. We call it it. You know, when you look at something and you say it is a cow. You start with it first. You look at it, point at it, say it. Huh? What does it mean? It means you don't know what it is at first. Only that it's there. It, that, this. It says that something is there, that's all. That's the senses. Then to know what that is, you say it is a cow. It means you change that it, something uncertain. Everything is an it. And you change that general thing into a specific thing. It is a cow, or it is a tree, or it is a cloud, or it is a house. See, it is the same in all of them, the unknown thing. But then you make a decision about what it is. That's called a judgment. You judge that this thing is this thing is that. Now, where does that judgment? Does the eye judge? Does the nose judge? Does the tongue judge? Where is the judgment coming from? To say what the it is. That judgment is not one of the senses. When you look at something and you say, this is small, this is large, the eye can't compare. Comparison doesn't come from the eye. The eye only sees things. It's like a detector, a sense, what do you call it? A photo detector. It detects photons. That's the eye. But to judge that this is smaller, this is larger, eye doesn't do that. Eye doesn't have a brain inside of it. To decide what a thing is requires a brain and a mind, not just an eye. The eye doesn't work on its own. It has a big nerve connecting it, the optic nerve connecting it to the brain. Why? Because it needs the brain, it needs the mind in order to operate properly. Otherwise, you'll simply, by the senses, we know this is this, this is this. Everything is there. It is. But what it is a different question. So there are two questions when we come in contact with something. One, that it is, that its being is there. And the second is what it is. What kind of being it is. So like that, we have to realize that just coming in contact with something, the immediate thing itself, that is not the whole story. You have to look deeper. What else is going on? The mind is involved in the senses. Most people don't even know that. They think, oh, I see this. This is a such and such. That is such and such. That's it. Finished. They know everything now. That's all they need to know. Have no idea that the mind is involved and saying that this is cow, this is sun, this is a tree, this is a house. They have no idea what they're doing. Because they're only absorbed in the immediate sense thing. And they can't see past that. They can't understand past that first impression that there's something else going on. And then beyond the mind, there's something even more going on than that. And like that, one can trace back the senses, the mind, the intellect, the reason, the soul, and then God. But to go back into all those things requires more than just immediate impression of things. So Gurudev tells, dive deep into reality, don't just accept the superficial thing and that you know everything. There's more and more and more. But only a very sober person who is not so captivated by the mere sense things, they can go deep into these things and find out what is there besides what is superficially appearing to the eye. So Krishna is saying here, being merged in Maya, foolish and fallen men. Fallen men means those who are simply caught up in the superficialities. Dedicate themselves to evil deeds and develop a mentality, a demonic mentality, and never surrender to Krishna. They remain always caught up in the outer things. Being drawn by them, they think they are in charge of those things that they see, that they smell, whatever. But their senses are dragging them into those things and pulling them into those objects of the world instead of themselves going back, taking themselves back from that senses into the higher regions of their own self to understand who is that self who is being dragged like this by the senses. Just the opposite direction. Then the next one, 10. Dvandvatita sukritiman eva Sri Krishna bhajanadikarat kari yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva mohonir mukta bhajante mam dhritta vrata. From the Bhagavad Gita. Sridhara explains, he said, only the virtuous soul who rejects both mundane happiness and unhappiness is qualified to worship Lord Krishna. And Krishna is saying in this verse, those virtuous persons whose sins have been destroyed are liberated from illusory happiness and unhappiness, and they worship me with firm resolve. So here Krishna is explaining what the problem is and what the solution is to this situation. And he's saying the virtuous persons whose sins have been destroyed. What are these sins? When a person's sins are destroyed, then they can be liberated from this happiness and distress of mundane existence. What are those sins? Bhagavad Gita also explains, Krishna explains, lust, anger, greed,
Papabio.
huh?
The papabio. The sins that you incur from leaving all duties.
That's another thing, but the sins are lust, anger, greed, envy.
We call those the enemies of the mind.
These are the sinful things. Who's contaminated with lust, anger, greed, envy, and so forth, madness? They will fall for these mundane things. They will get entangled in these mundane. To become virtuous means to get rid of all these lust, anger, greed, and so forth. Become purified of that. And once we are free of those things, we become freed also from this illusory pursuit of sensory pleasures, and forgetting other things that are there within us and that are active, always active, always acting within us. So first you have to get free from those things, and then we can understand what is what. These are the things that are diverting our attention from what we should be really thinking about, our ultimate identity, our ultimate purpose of life, our ultimate joy, our ultimate satisfaction in life. Is being covered over. Is creating ignorance of those things. What is that? Lust, anger, greed, this, that, and the other thing. And then they can properly worship it. Text 11. Sri Krishna prapatir eva maya Tadropayo Daya Nanya Daiviyesha Gudamai Mama Maya Duratya Mameva Ye Papadyante Mayam Etam Tarantite. We find in the Bhagavad Gita. So Srila Maharaja says surrender to Krishna is the only method of overcoming Maya. And Krishna is saying this trimodal deluding energy Maya of mind is practically insurmountable. Only those who surrender unto me can overcome it. A trimodal energy Maya. What is that trimodal? The three modes. Passion, ignorance, even goodness. Someone who thinks they are good in this world, they want to do good, and they are good, and they go to the temple, and they go to the church, or they do good deeds for others. They think, oh, I am a good person. I'm okay. I'm going to get good karma in my life. Krishna doesn't like that. Don't know. That's as bad as passion or ignorance. Goodness, passion, ignorance, all the same thing. They're all dragging you, holding you into this world. Attachment to this world. And all the forces that keep the living entity from coming to me and understanding me and giving them some sense of attraction, of satisfaction in the mundane plane. You're not going to get free from that kind of superficial existence. Even you are influenced by goodness, because that's not the highest thing. No matter how many good works you do in this world, that is not going to give you the highest thing. You'll get happiness in this world for some time. And then again, whatever good things you're doing, there's always some fault, something bad else happening. Just eating means you have to kill. So everything good has some bad reaction to it also. And ultimately, whatever pleasure you're going to get, you're going to have to get some unhappiness too. And that's the way the world goes. Sukha-dukha, happiness and distress. Like summer and winter. Sitoshna, sukha-dukha-da. Summer and winter, hot and cold, pleasure and pain. That's what this world is. If you settle for that, that's all you'll get. But Krishna is saying, but if you surrender to me, you can overcome all of this. And the only way to overcome that, because those things are dragging us down. We are the servants of those things. To get free from their service, we have to accept service to Krishna. Surrender to Krishna. I am the servant of Krishna, and not to those things that are taking me away from Krishna. And because Krishna is above all of these things, and by surrender to him, we can overcome all these things. Those things can be easily overcome. Okay. I think we'll stop here. Next time, we take number 12. Have any questions? Are there any questions? Uma Devi, you're still working?
Yes, Maharaj. Nearly finished. 7 o'clock finished.
Huh?
7 o'clock, she's finished.
Oh, I thought you were going to India
Yes, next month.
next month. Okay. Okay.
Yes, Maharaj.
All right. You can't wait, huh? Okay. My humble dandavats to you all. Please be safe, be well.
Dandavat.
My love to you all. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna Maharaj. Hare Krishna devotee. Hare Bol.